Right then, let's do this. Let's go. Play the intro.
Ooshk. Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Football Booth Podcast, episode 10. My name is Fernand, and joined alongside me, a man who I imagine isn't feeling as upbeat as he is usually after last night's result. Mayhem, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I can admit, I'm feeling quite refreshed. I did something I haven't done for a long time, and just I think it was at 4. Just got in the shower, went to bed, turn it off. Just it was flat. Not not so much at, at the actual game and performance, because the tragic thing is that it's no real surprise, but it just the manner of the absolute cunt bag that was in the middle trying to control that game. And look, we were comfortably beaten. I'm sure it wouldn't have been any different, but I I don't I don't get it. I don't understand where football is right now.
Oh, yeah, we got plenty to discuss then on that matter later
Yeah,
on. But look,
I
you watched, I don't mean, I didn't watch the whole game. I actually watched the highlights as, before we came on. And from what I saw of the game, obviously it was going to be very difficult to muster anything from that game after the Maeda red card, which was initially a yellow, which then got overturned to be a red. And then the goals were just very, apart from the fourth and the fifth goal, that very instinctive goals where they just, players found themselves in the right place at the right time to pounce on them and put the ball in the back of the net. Other than that, I didn't see what other decisions which may have been
I
a
just
bit
I just don't
controversial.
understand how yeah, they obviously will have the same laws of the game and how they can be implemented so differently across the world. I mean, we're talking about the game on Monday night, and Romario, or whatever his name is, the defender for Tottenham, gets sent off for a follow. He's kicked the ball and followed through, and in England that's apparently not natural. Um, and then the Atletico player for the Maeda decision has kicked the ball and followed through and made contact with Maeda's foot, and then the ref goes over to the screen and they show him a freeze frame of it first of all. They show him a still of like made so the decision's already made, and then they're rolling it on. Like I don't get it. Like, because Simeone and his fucking tramp team just want to roll around, that then it goes and gets reviewed. There was no force in it from me. It was just dangled a foot trying to block the ball. There was then one on Kyogo later on in the game. Again, there was no force in it, but again, his foot lands on Kyogo's shin with his studs up, and VAR don't review it. So, look, what the fuck's going on? We're already one down to a deflection. We were already struggling, and we just killed the fucking game. We don't help
Yeah.
ourselves because yet again we capitulate and we concede right on the stroke of half time. Um, and then there was no way back, and we fell apart in the second half. Like I said, at 4-0, that was enough for me. I didn't need to see no more. I've not looked at the highlights. I know that obviously I think it finished 6. I just couldn't be arsed of it. The same old shit in Europe, away from home. Just an early goal, we shoot ourselves in the foot. Down to 9 men away at Feyenoord. Down to 10 men at Atletico Madrid, and you're not giving yourself a chance. Like, at this level, you go a man down. You're just not giving yourself a chance to, for that length of time. You're just not giving yourself a fair crack.
No.
Um, and ultimately, what was that? Tough one to take, and we dust ourselves down and not feel sorry for ourselves. We've Aberdeen at the weekend at home, so we've got to get ourselves in the right frame of mind on Sunday and go out and make sure that we keep the gap and keep the pressure up. But I haven't watched any of Brendan's interviews. I know there's been a lot of heat domestically on referees, but I haven't seen it, and I doubt he would have because Celtic don't really. But I really hope that he turned the heat up and asked, "Look, if that's a red card, then why wasn't it a red card on Kyogo? And what the fuck is football? What is football? Like,
No,
and so you can't go into 50-50 tackle now because if you kick the ball and follow through like Romario did or whatever the defender is, and he collides with the player, red card. And if you leave your foot there and a player kicks through and hits you, red card. So this is what I mean. There's too many intricate rules. There's too many people fucking refereeing games. I heard like weeks ago Mike Dean saying to Paul Merson that you can have players in because they don't understand the rules of the game. Here's a newsflash for you, Mike. You don't understand the rules of the game in the context the game's played. In in any way, shape, or form was made as a red card. It's a 50-50. It's barely even a yellow card. It's contact, which is inevitable in a contact sport.
yeah, and it's not a lunge either.
He's just dangled his foot.
Yeah.
So that's just comical. And to be honest, yeah, we were just that Bernardo, the boy on loan from Benfica. Seen enough of him now. He's not it. Send him back.
No.
Um, Parma. Every decision that goes against Atletico, they're running up to the ref. Giving it all this card, card, card. Parma disagrees with one position. Ref books him. Now he's out of the Lazio game.
Oh
I,
my
don't,
god.
I just don't get what this absolute cunt of a ref was at. We already, with previous with the guy, we put in a complaint about him and an appeal about him in 2015 because he was that dog shit at his job. Clearly hasn't got any better. But here he is again. Like, fuck him.
It's always a thing with Spanish teams in the Champions League as well. Like it's their natural reaction, these teams, to just completely hurdle round the referee where there's four or five of them, making the notion for a card, and yeah, if it's from the opposite side, it's frowned upon. So I don't get it, and again, this is one of many layers as to what the fuck is wrong with football at the moment. With VAR, the officials that are running it and governing it, it's all an absolute fucking mess. And like we'll even get on to the Newcastle and Arsenal shambolics as well.
Yeah, look, VAR is shit.
It's
Right,
shit.
I honestly couldn't care now about anyone else's opinion in regards to it. It's shit.
Ah,
What they're doing
absolutely
is
awful.
slowing down real time things and making them look 100 times worse. Does it work in some cases? Yes, it does. But that doesn't mean that it's right. That doesn't mean that it isn't broken. A broken clock's right twice a day. That's about the average that VAR is actually right as well. Twice a fucking weekend at this
Yeah.
rate. It's getting beyond a joke.
And
Like
I'm
it was
pretty
brought.
sure Morata's offside for that second goal as well.
Oh, I don't know, mate. To be honest, I've just looked in terms of context for it. I've lost all of it, to be
Yeah.
honest. So,
No,
um,
understandably, yeah.
but and that was obviously coming off of we played well in the first half of the home leg, fell apart in the second half. So we went there with very little optimism because it's Celtic away from home in Europe, but there was a little bit, and the game's dead, like I said after the red card. But
Mm.
there was it was a mixed week to say the least. Obviously, as we finished up last week, I was watching a St Mirren game. Um, I nearly had a stroke watching that. Um, we were well below par, um, but thankfully got the result. Obviously, went one down early to a blast from the past. Um, what's his name? It was the McCullum. No, Who's the winger that used to be at Wigan? Do you remember him? Like this
Callum
Callum.
McManaman.
That's him. Yeah,
Fuck off! Is he still
yeah.
playing?
I think it was him anyway. Nods to him, puts him one up very early, and
Bloody
then
hell!
Turnbull scores, puts his fingers in his ears. He can fuck off and all. He's dog shit. Can't be arsed with him.
I said
Fucking. Oh,
he has been on the score sheet though quite frequently,
I
but
don't
yet
give a shit
still
about
doesn't
it.
doesn't.
You want to put your fingers in your ear, mate. You're a rotational player, aren't you? You're you're lucky to even be in a Celtic team, to be honest. Like you're okay on the ball, but you've not got much else for you. And you can strike a ball. Like there's a million players like you. You're completely replaceable. You want to put your fingers in the ears away down the road. Might see you later. And then backs his celebration up by missing a penalty. Well done, clever boy. But we were flat, to be honest, in the whole game, and it was a real worry that we weren't going to get over the line. Thankfully, we brung on home. Home was back. I'm not sure where the boys been. Brung on O as well. Imagine playing two up top and you need a result. And
One
it's
of them
that
not being James
combination.
Forrest.
Well, he's still got on the pitch. But anyway, we move. Um, and home with some nice feet and slots it through, and O fires it into the roof of the net, and we take that and we run to the next fixture because we weren't great, but the important thing was to make sure that after obviously the slip up at Edinburgh, that we got the points, and we did, but not dwelling too much on it. It was a poor performance, but St Mirren are third in the league, a really really solid team.
Yeah,
Um, the the manager, whose name is escaping me at the moment, but he's really set him up. He played, did wonders at Motherwell. He's come back into the St Mirren team, and he has a really strong foundation. They're very big, very physical, put himself about, work hard. And yeah, it was a good result in the end with a poor performance. Which is, if you're not going to play well, it's nice to have the ability to grind out those results, which you have to do if you're going to win the league in
yeah,
any country.
absolutely.
So that was massive, and then we rolled into the weekend. Played on Wednesday, played on Saturday. Go figure. Fucking stupid. Um, Obviously, this time we were away up in the Highlands. Early kickoff, so played late on Wednesday. Early kickoff on Saturday. It's
Again,
normal,
double stupid.
normal. Um, so there was a lot of rotation. I see the team and shit myself. Um, Cameron
Understandably.
Cameron Cardiff has come back in. He was rested in the St Mirren game, and Nat Phillips played. Fucking championship player at best. Sent him back as well. Um, and then Brendan Rodgers laid out most of these people that obviously are vying to try and get himself in contention to start. Ralston was at right back, Cardiff and Scales in the middle, Taylor at left back. In midfield, it was Callum McGregor, it was David Turnbull and Bernardo, and then I believe it was
Forrest started, didn't he? Yeah,
Forrest, O, and Yang that
yeah, very heavily
started.
rotated.
Um, and yeah, look, the game in itself in the first half again, we're in control. Um, Not a lot coming back from Canty. They didn't really test Joe Hart all game. About 10 minutes in, there's an absolute horror tackle on Yang. Absolute horror tackle. The guy is halfway up his leg. Could easily have broke his leg with the force he's gone in. The ref is staring right at it and doesn't give it. Gives it as a foul and a yellow card. VAR looks at it and goes, Jesus, that's so bad. Even we can get this one right. You need to go to the monitor. So he obviously upgrades it to a red card. Before that, Liam Scales had scored. O had jumped up with the defender, and the defender had thrown himself to the ground. Scales puts in the bottom corner. It's ruled out. VAR looks at it and decides it's a foul, or it's not clear and obvious, whatever bullshit they're going after. We then go 1-0 up again.
They're just making it
Um,
up as they go along.
then go 1-0 up again, and Maeda crosses it to O scores, and they give offside, which it could well be offside. Um, but the angle that they're looking at, they couldn't possibly know if he's offside. Um, so they've just guessed that he's offside, so that's good of them. So back to 0-0 again, and it just felt like one of these things that, like, hold on a minute, we're not, we can't, it can't be like a through ball slipped in here or anything, or any kind of challenge, because they're going to be looking at everything. County were defending really well, and as it comes towards the end of the half, Turnbull picks up on the edge of the box and, hits it low and across the keeper into the bottom corner, and we get the goal just for our time, which was, it was massive. Um, so that kind of relieves things a wee bit, and we can breathe a wee bit. And then up steps Palmer, comes off the bench. I think Maeda must have started actually. It must have been Maeda that started. Forrest come on. But up steps Palmer, 20, 25 yards out, hits an absolute scorcher. And we're 2-0 up, so we've scored two brilliant goals, and then Palmer dazzles his way past someone into the box, clips it over, and Forrest just on basically with his first touch scores. And they're banging on about how he scored 15 seasons in a row and all this carry on. But ultimately, a really comfortable day, with the likes of Matt O'Reilly and that not even getting on the pitch. They were well rested. Kurgo did get on for a little bit, but it just nothing, nothing too zapping. And you thought that, well, that's the domestic thing done. We've expended probably as little energy as we could have there, and it set us up for good stead going into Europe. But you can't account for an absolute knobhead in the middle. So no matter how much preparation and that you do, so overall the week has been probably, you know you're happy that you've got the domestic side done. Disappointed with Europe, especially the manner that we've capitulated and lost by such a big total, even with 10 men. So probably a 6 out of 10. Yeah, with the way that they had the semi-final on Sunday,
Yeah,
I just
Sunday. Yeah, yeah.
it means that we're now 8 points clear again. And if we keep winning, there's at certain points with games in hand and stuff like that we can move. Potentially 12 points clear with them having games in hand. So the points on the board is always the more important piece here. So pressure's right back on them to go and perform. And like I said, Sunday with tough game, Bay Robson's Aberdeen, obviously the other team in the final. So they'll be well behind the team. So we've just got to click into gear and start to play how we were playing sort of before the St Mirren game. Click into that kind of form, and I think we'll be fine. But obviously the festive periods, we're moving into that now. It's always massive. So
Yeah,
um, put Europe on the back burner for a little while, and get back to the day-to-day stuff.
that's it, mate. Like you got past the double header with Atletico. Like despite the first four results in the group, like there's still something to fight for. But you do feel that the pressure's off completely with Europe, and especially then going into Christmas time, where picking up points is so crucial, and with Rangers still in the cup as well, you keep a good gap over them going into that stage of the season. So
Yeah,
it could only be up from here.
it's we're moving into, like we said, the busy schedule where you're probably going to be playing twice a week. The festive period's always busy. If we can kind of get through that relatively unscathed, and then at the end of it, we'll play them at home, and that can be the springboard onto next year. And um, yeah, I think we've played our best stuff over the last week, and certainly not in Madrid last night, but with a few days rest now, we go into Sunday, and hopefully be bang up for it, and we can forget about the problems that we're going to have on the wings for Lazio, because Maeda is going to be suspended and Palmer, so it'll be interesting. James Forrest on the wing, great.
Hey, Yeah. Well, one last note before we move on. See, we were just chuckling there about Callum McManaman still playing. Another skeleton that came out of the closet over the last few days was Craig Levein being announced. Is it Ross County that he's taken over at?
St Johnston.
St Johnston, that's it. Oh my god. Has that guy managed more Scottish teams than he's had hot dinners?
Well, I mean, it's the fact that I don't think he's been in a managerial job. I think it's like 2019 since he
It's
was
been a
last.
while, yeah. And he's undergone a lot of weird roles in football as well, where he's been I think he's been like a technical director and.
Yeah, that's what you do when you're a shit manager, don't you? You find different roles. Yeah, strange appointment. I'm sure there's not many people down in Perth that'll be happy with the appointment. And we'll see it. It's a shame because St Johnston are they were such an enigma of Scottish football for a little while there. They obviously did the
Yeah,
double, and they it was really a tough place to go at times. But in recent history, they just haven't been able to replicate that. And obviously, they've lost big players like Xander Clark and
Billy
that have
Mackay, who
taken over.
was a big player for them a few years ago.
So they have lost big players, but they haven't been able to fill those positions, the ones that have impacted them massively. And they've obviously now got themselves in a point where they've decided to part ways with the old boss Callum. God, my brain's frazzled. Can't remember. He's Davidson, I think. But they've
Oh,
parted
Callum Davidson,
ways.
yeah,
They've parted ways. He becomes, I think, the first sack-in of the season. And I think it's not so much this season, it'll be historically, how poor and how easily they've been dragged into that over the last few seasons that the board wouldn't be happy at. But, it's a chance for them to go and refresh and bring in some new ideas. And they've decided to go for Craig Levein, which does seem a wee bit weird. But I imagine it won't be too long until. Oh, no, I said he was the first managerial second. I am wrong. That was obviously Michael Beale. Sorry.
yeah.
Um,
Ah,
so
we almost forgot you, Mike.
we almost did. Everyone else has forgot him anyway. Never mind. Um, so I think there's probably a few more looming, to be honest. Especially like Naismith at Hearts. I know that they are very, very disgruntled with how they've played. So
Well, I'm sure St Johnston fans are already disgruntled with fucking Craig Levein, so he
probably.
could be in the running as well for the next sacking already. So yeah, that's that. I'd like to say there's a lot to speak about on this segment regarding Cardiff, but there really isn't. A 0-0 draw over the weekend. To be honest, despite there not being a lot to evaluate over the game, courtesy of the scoreline, it was a good point. Good point to take. Stoke's always a difficult place to go to, so I was happy with a point in the end. We're still in and around the playoffs. The game itself, first half, minimal chances from both ends, but it was very tight. Second half, put our foot on the pedal a bit more. We were the better side for the second 45. Cole came on, again looked as sharp as he did against Bristol, so it seemed that he managed to maintain his momentum from last week. Jack Bonham makes a fantastic save as well to keep Ryan Wintle out with a flash shot at the near post. And ultimately, I think the draw was a fair result. I don't think really any of us mustered any clear-cut chances in that game. Despite us having the majority of the ball in the second half, we couldn't break them down. Very defensively resilient side, Stoke. And I was happy with the point. No, it is always, like I said, it's a difficult place to go to. Of course, with the run we've been on, it's still not all doom and gloom. We go on to Saturday now against out of form Norwich side, who are only taking a point from their last 5, and I think it's the perfect platform for us to get back to winning ways and keep us up in that top six bracket, really.
Yeah, I mean, Stoke has become more famous for the wet and windy metaphors that roll around, but we know how difficult teams find it to go there, and especially when the crowd's up and they're behind. So obviously, nullifying that a clean sheet away from home, they're all building blocks. Whereas in recent weeks, it's been the attackers that have had the limelight. The defence has stood up to be counted and made it so if you're not going to win, make sure you don't lose. So positives to take from that, and like you said, still in and
Absolutely.
around that playoff hunt. Yeah, Norwich they're a strange team. Seem to play in like fads this season in games where they'll be brilliant for 20 minutes and be 2-0 up against Leeds, and then just capitulate and lose. So they'll be low on confidence. So yeah, back at the is it at home? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, back on home soil. And so, yeah, Tete came off the bench as well, which was another good sign. I don't think he'll be ready for Norwich, though. Personally, yeah, looked a bit rusty when he came on, but I think going forward, and as long as he stays fit and injury free, I think he's definitely our main man to lead the line. But again, like I said, I've praised our rotation options all season. I think everyone's been each to their own been fantastic. Josh Bowell has been brilliant. We've had the emergence of Ollie Tanner. Yakun Meite's been good. Ugbo, as long as he's got that support with him, can be effective. And so, yeah, I'm happy with everything at the moment. And like I said, it was a good point to take. And we move on to Saturday, and again we go again. We pick things up again, and then I think after that is away to Preston, who are a team up in the playoff area somewhere. I think they're like fifth at the moment, so that won't be easy going to Deepdale. But
Especially if
we have a good
Anthony
record at
Taylor's
Deepdale
in
though.
charge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if we have Bobby Madley back, fuck me,
He's retired, isn't he now? I think Bobby Madden.
I fucking hope so. He should retire from fucking breathing. Cunt.
Probably doesn't make the edit.
No, it will, because fuck Bobby Madley. I don't care. I don't care anymore.
Um, but yeah, um, I think decent point. Move on, and then see where Saturday leaves you. But game by game, I think that's what we said all season. And if you get to the last kind of 10 and you're in with a shout, it's been a very very good season.
Absolutely. And the fact that Errol Bullett's still come out and said that he wants to still add to certain areas in January as well. We've actually got that privilege of doing so, with the embargo being lifted now. So it'll be interesting and exciting at the same time to see what we can do in January when January does come around. But ultimately, it's like I said, we take one game at a time and see where we can go with it. Yeah. Right. Tottenham Chelsea. What the fuck was all that about? To be honest, I think the contradiction behind it, despite there being complete and utter chaos amongst VAR and the decisions that were made, it probably made for the most entertaining night of Monday night football in history, to be honest. But oh my word, catastrophe.
It just goes to show yet again that we've had this game of football, um, and the drama and the whole game. And the thing we're going to start off talking about here is those wankers in black and their inability, right? So, this could be a round robin where we go around 100 people. We show them the Ugbo first tackle, and I guarantee the only person that thinks that that's a yellow card is the dickheads that are ref in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't jump in 2-footed.
No.
It's never been allowed. It isn't allowed. It can't then be a yellow card because he doesn't make contact with Raheem, because Raheem Sterling sees him coming and gets his leg out of the way. It then can't then be a yellow card. If you step out at a zebra crossing and someone speeds through at 90 miles an hour but doesn't hit you, they still get points. Like they're still in trouble. This guy's jumped in 2-footed, just got the ball, and I mean just because Sterling Cinema got out of the way,
Yeah.
and they've decided that that's a yellow card. So that's the first one. It's 100% a red card.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was a red card?
100%. It's
Yeah, yeah,
two-footed. Like that's a law of the game. If it's two-footed,
yeah. It's endangering the player. He's out of control. It's 2-footed. It's over the top.
completely reckless. Yeah.
Yeah,
Straight
bang.
red, easily.
Should have been gone. Mark, that's one down. After all the controversy of Sunday, I'm sure they wanted a nice easy game. They've shit himself, and they've got one wrong. Well done. Um, then Romero kicks a player and doesn't get sent off. I've I've never seen anything like it. He's literally kicked someone, and and they say it's petulant. It doesn't fucking matter. He's kicked someone. It is a red card every single day of the week. You can't just kick people, no matter what. If you kick someone and the ball's not there and you've just kicked out, it's a red card.
Yeah. Oh, it's black and white, clear as crystal.
Then we get on to he's the one he shouldn't even be on the pitch at this point, but the one he does eventually get sent off for. Um, Gary Neville is saying that he, I think it's a red card. That one I think is a red card as well. But Gary Neville saying he knows what he's doing, and I think he does a little bit, but like you can't also just kick the ball and stop. Like that, you can't. That's not what you're going to do. Otherwise, the ball's going to go nowhere. So he's tried to clear the ball. He's followed through. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. But it also isn't fair to say that he could have just kicked and stopped. Like his foot was always going to carry on going.
Yeah.
He lifts his studs and leaves a little bit on the guy. And again, he's half up his leg, and I think that it is a
Well, that's
red
the thing
card.
because he's gone slightly over the ball as well with it, with the follow through. So
Um, prior to all that nonsense kicking off with the disallowed goal and the offside and that tackle. Prior to that, Raheem Sterling, there's a swing and he throws himself to the ground. Right, so look, the VAR's gone and got the Romero challenge correct. But Raheem Sterling just dives. So that situation should never, ever, ever come about
mm-hmm.
because the ref should just stop the game there and book him for diving.
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling then dives again under Pedro Porro. He should be second yellow card and he should be sent off. And he doesn't get booked for either. So that's somebody else at VAR fucked up. Reece James, just elbows. I think is it Ugbo or whoever, like just literally. Well, it's maybe not his elbow, it's his forearm. Looks at him, jumps up, clatters him in the face. Red card. Another one that again
Yeah.
they
And
look.
we've seen these being given as well.
And more famously now, I'm sure we'll touch on the Arsenal game, but more famously now, not given like a forearm straight to the face after you've looked at him. It's a red card
So
all
yeah,
day
exactly.
long,
You're aware of the player's surroundings,
and you've
and you've
just
gone and thrown an
screwing the
arm.
arm out.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the score, the penalty, 1-1, ton of disallowed goals, and then both
About 8. Yeah.
or whatever his name, whatever that left back's name is,
Oh,
the terrible.
Udoji. I felt bad for Udoji with the first yellow. I didn't think the first one was a yellow. The second one's a clear yellow.
Yeah, like yeah, he just so stupid,
Yeah, lack of
so, so
maturity with that
stupid.
second yellow.
And then, and I don't know what he's doing. I just don't know. I mean, it probably doesn't help that Van der Veen's exploded his hamstring. Madison's had to come off injured. All of that does, but I don't understand this high line thing that they were playing. Like it was never ever going to work. And 4-1 completely flat as Chelsea because they were shit.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, they made Nicolas Jackson look world class as well with three goals on a plate there for him, which my
Yeah,
dog could have scored, and and now people are raving about him as if like, oh, this guy's going to be the next, the next contender for the Golden Boot. Like, fuck off, man. Like, you're against 9 men. The high line again in itself was ridiculous. Like, literally on the halfway line, and they easily just ping it over the top.
Yeah, it was weird.
Easiest hat trick I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, so no, definitely humbling for Spurs and Ange, and like you said, with Van der Ven coming off and Maddison coming off injured, and Doji out suspended and Romero out suspended. I mean, Romero's the fucking next Granit Xhaka anyway. That guy's a walking red card since last season. Don't see the big deal about him either. The guy is just completely reckless whenever he plays. He'd make so much easy money on Bet365 with the number of bookings he gets. Ridiculous. And so, yeah, no, complete and utter humbling. Don't know how Ange is going to be able to rotate for next week and get them back to winning ways, because that was, like you said, it was a flattering scoreline for Chelsea. It's not a Poch masterclass, him returning to his form, having his former club return. Like, it's nothing special in the slightest. The officials got it wrong, and unfortunately Ange got it wrong as well.
Yeah, it was. Like you said, it made for good viewing if you're a neutral, but just further highlighted the VAR doesn't work.
No, there's no point. There's absolutely no point.
Speaking of VAR not working, St James's Park.
For the time is all mine, all mine. For the time is all mine. Shit. Absolute shit.
What in the name of fuck is going on, mate? From, again, just Bruno Guimaraes throwing his arm into the head of, was it Jorginho?
Yeah, Jorginho.
Like, how is it not a red card?
But again, it's like, aware of his player surroundings. Flings an arm out and gets away with it.
Like, absolutely mental. I didn't watch large spells of the game, but obviously you couldn't be on any kind of social media platform and not see everything that's transpired since. Is the ball in? Is the ball out? But I don't know. Is the answer. I can understand that one. I can understand that one with it not being conclusive. You need that overhead view to see if if any of the ball is.
Yeah, because they all came up with different angles as well. Where there's some where, if they're not bird's eye view, like you said, it's hard to make a clear judgment on it, because you look at it from a side view, yes, it's out of play. Look at it from a diagonal view, out of play. Look at a bird's eye view, or maybe a toenail fraction where the ball is still on the line.
So, without that, then we can't say anything. The whole Joel Linton leaping. I think Gabriel's weak. I think he feels contact and starts to go down, thinking he'll get a free kick, and obviously the ball hits Joel Linton's hand. And the difference there being that when it hit Sterling's hand and it directly fell to him and he could go on and score, the accidental handball has come and then it's not been him that it's landed in possession of.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is where the laws just need to be simplified and re-looked, because there's a loophole in the law where it's then gone to Gordon and he's been able to score. And then is he offside? Isn't he offside? Like, what is the point of paying all this money? And you need this angle. Like they were offered the UEFA technology that does that scan, and then the line comes down. You can see clearly didn't take it, and instead still trusting these morons to draw lines.
Yeah, exactly.
can't find an angle to draw a line, and subsequently we've ended up where a goal has been given, not because they've been able to factually get to the correct decision, but because they have to stick with the on-field decision because they can't find conclusive evidence. Otherwise,
So it's laughable.
like 2023, and we're saying we can't disprove that this goal was offside. We can't disprove that this was. That's mental.
God, imagine
Absolutely
if this
mental.
was the FBI.
No, it's shambolic, and yeah, completely and utterly shambolic. We see it a couple of weeks ago at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The shambles that VAR is when Luis Diaz scores a goal. Apparently, we're changing rules for Luis Diaz as well. He pulls his shirt up. Anyone else in the country gets booked, but they decide not to book him because of the situation.
Mm.
So we're making exceptions for players now. But then we see that, and you thought it can't get any worse than this. And then just when everything was starting to simmer down slightly, and it'd been a couple of weeks and it was plateauing a bit, here we go. Hold my beer, guys. We're about to have an absolute shit show. And Anthony Gordon grabs his goal, massive goal for Newcastle, and they get a huge result, not only for them, but for Man City as well.
Massive result for City, yeah.
And then obviously the way that things have swung, the Tottenham Chelsea get a massive result for them as well, and City are top now. And this is the problem, when these juggernaut sides like City, United, back in the day, and Arsenal back in the day, and Chelsea through that Mourinho spell, when these teams click and they're on top, they can just start to pull away.
Yeah,
And
absolutely ruthless.
the worry now is that that's City now, and they've clicked into gear, and they could be, you know, imperious and absolutely blow away, and we could get to Christmas, and there could be, a sort of 5, 6, 7 point gap, and City aren't going to throw away that lead. And I know that you work with a City fan, and there would have been some rumblings. I'm sure all the rumblings have gone away after they won in the Champions League again last night. They're back top of the table. Haaland's scoring goals again. I'm sure that all the rumblings have died down.
Yeah, the rumblings have died down. He's not so concerned about the squad depth anymore because Haaland's back scoring and Jeremy Doku is the best signing since sliced bread. So. But to be fair though, I think since Doku has come in, he was always going to have that competition ahead of him in the likes of Grealish, Foden, Bernardo Silva, and he's proved to be a massive breath of fresh air in that side. And he came away with how many assists in that game? Like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, he had a storming weekend.
Highly instrumental to that side at the moment, and yeah, they're back to their best, where they're absolutely dangerous to go against. 6-1 on the weekend, 3-0 against Young Boys last night, and you can only imagine that they're gonna just fire on from here and run away with pretty much everything.
It's the old cliche, but sometimes when you have a big game, and even though the Manchester derby didn't really take that on in reality, but the context of a Manchester derby is still a massive result. It brings back that feel good factor in the dressing room. They've won the derby, the fans are back on side, and they've followed that up with a brutal display against Bournemouth, and then a clinical one against Young Boys, and again things, as they always seem to do when you're winning, have just plateaued a little bit, and everyone's exhaled a breath that's connected to City and their back, where I think everybody predicted that they would be
exactly. Yeah.
comfortable in the Champions League group, and top of the English Premier League leading into the festive period.
No, absolutely, 100%. And you know what? Despite naming an entire fucking episode on United last week, they've only gone and bloody won this past weekend against Fulham.
Oh, they struggled, didn't they?
They did struggle. They really did struggle. But it was a very ugly win, and to be honest, I think that's what it's going to have to take for United to get points on the board. Uh, from now on is just really
Yeah.
just digging deep and scrapping the bottom of the barrel to come away with any points, never mind a victory. And
Well, you see
that's
the
exactly
banner.
what they did.
The fans had the banner out, you know,
Yep.
voicing their opinion, and that they made reference to in the interviews. You know, Scott McTominay saying that they'd seen it, but that's just the the reality here is that they've just brought players that aren't good enough. They've spent big money on the likes of Anthony and Jadon Sancho. They brought in Malaysia. They brought in even as far back as like Varane and Martinez, um, Christian Eriksen.
The list
They're,
goes on, mate. You can go
they're
as far
just
back as going saying the likes of Eric Bailly and Donny van der Beek and
they're just not
Fred
it.
as well.
I think your man Hovland, I think he will be good. I think he just needs a few goals to kind of get him sort of up and running and
Yeah,
settle him down a wee bit. Um, but again, it's United's problem. They're buying a project, and they're United, and they had to
yeah,
pay 70 million for that project. So
no,
you
exactly.
pay 70 million, you kind of want an instant return. And it showed it in glimpses. In the Champions League against
Yeah,
Galatasaray, showing glimpses, but he just needs to get his head down and get some service into him, and just bury a few, get settled in that team, and I think he'll turn into a top player. But they haven't got much else
no,
really at all. Really, I
yeah.
think looking across, you could probably bin 10 of those players. A lot of people, I think, are losing patience with Rashford.
I don't blame
Um,
them, to be honest. I think off the back of the the performances he put in last season, the numbers he returned in them, like you would have bet your house on him and Hoyland together this season to be firing. That Hoyland looks a real special player when he wants to be on his day, and like you said, we've seen it. We've observed it in the Champions League. Like they got, United have got a special player in their hands in Rasmus Hoyland, but it's the mentality factor in and around the club. Like I said it last week. It feels like all that toxicity around the club from upstairs, the fan base, the club itself, is completely filtered down to the squad now. Where like even fans aren't even sure if Ten Hag's the right man to take the team forward. Well, it's not even a fucking team you can take forward. Just a fucking field of cows and laxatives where there's just shit everywhere.
I, yeah, if they were to bin Ten Hag, then where do they go?
And that's the irrational thought you gotta have as well. Like, who the hell is going to want to take over that job? Who can you get in who is at that is of Ten Hag's caliber, if not greater than that? So, like Zidane's not going to be interested. Ancelotti's not going to want it. Allegri's not going to want it.
I don't think that they would go cheap. I think if they got rid of him, because obviously they paid the money, and they'll say that they backed him with Martinez and Anthony and all that. I think they would go cheap. You'd see someone like Michael Carrick. I think would be
Yeah,
one of those
or like Wayne
floated.
Rooney or someone. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he can't win a game for Birmingham, so I doubt it. Should
Oh,
stick
bless him.
to should stick to his wife's documentaries and make his money that way.
Shagging grounds and all that. Like,
Uh-huh.
what a boy. So, no, I mean, I don't want to give too much of a plug for United this week because we pretty much dedicated an entire episode for them last week. But so,
Yeah, we've
but
spoken far too much about that football club for,
yeah,
for, for
exactly.
two
Yeah,
people that give zero shits about them. But it was, it was a captain's moment.
yeah,
People of Roy Keane, after the derby, had really called out saying he would strip Fernandez of the captaincy, and that was a massive moment. Um, and you kind of enjoyed it, and then the face kind of was one of relief rather than euphoria. So it tells you pretty much everything that's happening in and around that football club at the moment.
No, absolutely. And this is the thing. Like, with Roy Keane's rants, it's just another weekend for him. Like, this is what he does week in, week out. Whenever United are on the box, so it's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, like it's like they can people listening can go through all of our previous episodes, and we're having this discussion as we are right now.
Yeah.
It's that ridiculous, honestly. The amount of airtime we've given this club and how much effort and emotion we put into it is just crazy. Like, so, yeah, let's move on. Like, I mean, obviously we had the Liverpool game on the weekend where Luis Diaz scored his goal and got that sentimental side of the officials where they didn't book him for taking his shirt off. But overall, it's a good point for Luton.
It's a great point. You feel bad for them, don't you? Because they've obviously defended really dogged and stayed in the game. Counter attack, got their goal, and they're thinking this is their moment. And Luis Diaz breaks their hearts. So you do feel bad for them. Incredibly, after the first few games of the season and watching them, at Brighton and at Villa and Chelsea, who we now know are a mid-table team and dog shit. You worried for them. Well, I certainly did. Really
I think a
worried
lot of
about.
us did. Yeah,
But I honestly think that they're going to be okay. I
they're
think
holding
this.
their own at the moment. I mean, they're tied on points with Bournemouth as things stand, and they're only above them on goal difference. But they do find themselves outside the relegation zone at the moment.
Yeah, I am. I don't think it's going to be a massive scrap this year for survival. I think that there's going to be a breakaway. There's already quite a large gap between Everton and Luton. So I do think that if there isn't a massive overhaul and turnaround, that there is going to be a disconnect between the four clubs down there, and then it'll be who's the least shit of them. But I think Kenilworth Road, they've really got to turn that place into a fortress. They've got to make it difficult to play there. They certainly did that against Liverpool, and they got a massive point. So they've got to do that, and that's the bar. They've set the bar now. They've got to go out and consistently deliver that performance. And if they do that, I think they'll be okay. The team, anytime I tend to say I'm worried about a team, they pull out a result. So buckle in, get your Bet365 axe. This is almost certainly going to blow up in my face. But the team that I honestly can't see staying up, bar Sheffield United, they don't get counted because they're shit.
They're down. They're completely
Um,
down.
is Burnley, and it's not because and I know I've slagged them a lot, and rightfully so. They're a tin pot club, but it's commendable why they're going down, and at the same time just completely moronic because I don't think Vincent Company has it in his DNA to change, how they play. They've got some really big characters there. Obviously, Craig Bellamy's his assistant and stuff like that, and I don't think they're going to compromise on how they want to play. But I do think that perhaps, even though he's played in the Premier League and played at the highest level, Vincent Company has maybe overestimated just how difficult it's going to be to play this way as a newly promoted team. I can't really remember anyone bar, and you won't like me saying it, Swansea doing it successfully when
No,
they come up.
I'd have to agree with you, to be honest. Yeah, I think because they really put themselves on the map in the Premier League with the style of play that Roberto Martinez introduced when he was at Swansea. And I'm not going to sit here. I mean, yes, Jack bastards, fuck them, but I can't disagree.
I can't remember anyone else doing it. You see that Forest wanted to play a certain way, and then they had to adapt. You know, certainly, I think the way that Luton were playing in the Championship, they have adapted. They're not playing that same way. Like the wing backs aren't just absolutely bombing on. I mean, you think of like you know Dougherty and that in the Championship just bombing on they're not that way now. That they have slightly changed. They have become a little bit more reserved, and they've picked up points through that.
Mm-hmm.
They can obviously be really direct with Colton Morris and um, their other striker,
Adebayo, yeah.
Adebayo.
Yeah.
And Forest have that directness, and obviously Forest has spent heaps of cash.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I worry that they don't have a plan B. And when you don't have a plan B and you're stuck with plan A, then it becomes really difficult. Case in point, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Ange does not have a plan B. He plays one style, and that is it. And if something goes wrong, he will not.
Make adjustments.
Yeah,
No.
and I think that's the kind of mentality that the company has. Again, commendable. Certainly, I think at different clubs with more resources and better players, he could really shine because of that mentality that he has and the work ethic. Um, but I think unless they go out and they bring in some more accomplished players at that level to compete in the way that they want them to compete, it could be difficult for them to stay up. So buckle in because that almost certainly means that they will get an absolutely fantastic result on the weekend, and they are up against Arsenal. Famously, when I said Wolves were damn, they went and beat Man City. So get your accumulators out because Burnley are currently 16-1. So that's great. I might even back them just to make sure that they lose because they never win, and then I look good.
That's a fiver worth it.
There you go. Just throw the fiver away and smack the fiver
Have you
on them.
still
It's
got
happy
Arnie
days.
Pam's birthday card near you?
Oh, that's it. Um, but
Who else do we?
yeah,
Who else do we have lined up for this weekend? Because I'm pretty sure. I
of
think actually after this round of fixtures, it's then another international break.
course it is actually. So I'm at the sleep out, and that's done on an international break. So
Yeah. So timed it well.
no, well that's why they've done it there, freezing my balls off on the 18th.
Yeah. So we got
Um,
Wolves, Spurs, Arsenal, Burnley, United, Luton. That'd be an interesting one. Bournemouth, Newcastle United, and then on the Sunday we've got Liverpool, Brentford, Villa, Fulham. That'd be an exciting game to watch actually. Chelsea, Man City, the late kickoff.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anthony Taylor in charge of that one
Well, shit.
after his fuck up at Deep Down. Gets rewarded with
Well, cool.
Chelsea
Would you
Man
really
City.
think he was going to lose his job? Nah.
No, not at all. Um, but yeah, I think I'd famously said on this pod that Wolves are down, and they are not down.
No.
They are doing well. They were doing very well, and then they decided to be the only team this season that's gone to Bramall Lane and shit the bed.
There had to be one.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that it's Wolves because they're not very good. And you're going, people say, look at the results and say that look, that's fair. Like I've looked stupid, but what I want you to do, right, we're not saying they're not a good football team. They're 100% not a good football team because I just want you to imagine Wolves without Pedro Neto. It's like porn without the sand on.
Yeah.
Like it's, I mean, it is
I was
mental.
about to do an impression of that, hard to believe or not, and I'm not going to.
It is utterly. If you take him out, like I would love to see his goal involvements. And I actually think it's a real sin that he hasn't got
Well,
player of the month.
see my fantasy team. He contributed fuck all this weekend.
Oh, well, yeah, it's because I went to Bramall Lane and shit the
Yeah,
bed.
exactly. No, but no, I completely agree. Like, yeah, Pedro Neto is their only positive outlet, and even when having him as your talisman, he's still glass bones and paper skin. The guy is heavily injury prone.
Yeah, which is it's got to be a big worry because without him, they could easily get dragged back into that dogfight. Um, Some other quick fire roundups. Everton point against Brighton. Probably would have snapped your arm off for it, but actually the way that it come about and the way they end up drawing, they probably feel disappointed that they didn't win.
Yeah, no, I think they honestly easily could have gone on and won that game. Brighton are a weird team at the moment. I feel there's obviously they've got quite a few injuries at the moment. I'm hearing a lot of speculation that Estepinian is on his way out in January. I'm not too sure how true that is. Don't don't question me on it, but yeah, no, he's another one who they're another team that I feel have kind of dropped a little bit since.
I
I
think
mean, they were okay. Like it was mainly after the humping they got against Villa, where they sort of had
yeah,
they've been stuttering quite a lot recently.
I think it's hard as well. First season in Europe to manage that workload
Hmm.
on a very you know small squad that they've got. And I think maybe the expectations were too high signing someone like Ansu Fati and the
Hmm.
season that they had had, and that so yeah, I don't think they've hit the heights um of what they expected. Um, but I think they'll be going. I think they'll come again. I don't think they'll get as high as they did last season, but I'm sure if they're sort of eighth, ninth, and they have a decent run in the Europa League, I think they've got a hard group as well.
It'd still be a successful season for Brighton, absolutely. Because I thought they absolutely blew out the water last season, and then like you said, it was going to be difficult to maintain a sufficient squad. Of course, they've got injuries still in Estepinian and that in Ciso as well. And so you still got these players to come back, and then who knows what Brighton can do when they got more names available to them.
And then for me, the result of the weekend may be a bit harsh on City that have absolutely purred and battered Bournemouth, Sheffield United first win, Newcastle beating Arsenal. So there's maybe a few people in there. Everton's point, like we said against Brighton, really, really good. But Nottingham Forest beating Aston Villa 2-0.
That was a
And
surprise.
yeah, Villa have been flying, absolutely flying. Like you said, dismantling Brighton. Ollie Watkins been dialing it in. DRB, they've been absolutely on form. Douglas Luiz been on that mad run. I think it was like 6 consecutive games at home he'd scored or
Yep.
whatever. They'd looked strong defensively. Emmy Martinez obviously in net playing well. And then all of a sudden they go to the City ground and lose 2-0.
Yeah. Massive mishap with the first. I think it was the first goal where Emmy Martinez, that completely unlike him to let that ball slip between him. And yeah, just a very under par performance from Villa overall. I think it's just a blip for them, an off day. Still, like you said, still a very strong team, but it was just a game that consisted of too many mishaps for Villa, and but great result for Forest overall. I think they've gained themselves a lot of credibility for that result, and I think for them, like you said, they've had to adjust a lot from the way they were playing last season and the huge number of players they brought in, and I think they've managed to find that transition quite well. I think the Villa result is huge, and even though I hate Sloth, he's managed to keep them afloat and got them playing to a good standard at the moment, where they are playing the way they are, where they've got that plan B behind them and can be a bit more direct and see games out and take advantage of these teams that are in good form at the moment. And Villa was probably one of the better teams that have been in the richest amount of form leading up to this game. So yeah, massive result for Forest. But no, but again, like Villa also have the same issue that Brighton have as well, where they're in Europe this season, and again, like being able to rotate players for games that are, where they're playing twice a week for the majority of this first part of the season up until New Year. And again, like if they manage to find that right balance, then they'll be fine. Like you said, they've got a lot of key players in that side, and they've invested very well in the likes of Moussa Diaby, Douglas Luiz, who's been superb for them. I think they've still got Leon Bailey there as well, and then of course their main man in Ollie Watkins, who's been firing this season. But yeah, no, I think it's an off day for Villa with that Forest game, and I expect them to bounce back.
Yeah, I think so. We'll finish on yes, no. Are Leeds going to catch Ipswich?
No.
Oh, he's gone bold. He's gone bold.
Sorry, fuck Leeds. All right, okay. On a more level head, I think the question would be: can Ipswich keep up with Leicester at the moment?
No. They wobbled at Birmingham, wobbled at Rotherham. Obviously, 2 draws back to back. I think it was going to be impossible for them to keep up the start. They've had an incredible start. But we have seen this before in the Championship, where a team that's promoted gets on a real head of steam, a real run, and then they fall. I think they'll still probably make playoffs because they still look like a real resilient team, and they've got a good fight about them. They showed that at Birmingham. I just think Southampton or Leeds will get on a run with the players they have in that division, and they will reel them in.
Absolutely. No, Leeds' team is too good to be in the Championship with the players they got. With Nonto, Somerville, even the likes of like Ethan Ampadu there. These players are, I think they are lower table Premier League players.
Yeah, I think that it'll come and they'll reel them in. But yeah, I just thought I would and then end on that. Unless you've anything else, any quick fire.
No, no. Honestly, yeah, I do think Leeds will catch them. Leeds, again, who have managed to really fight their way back up from the stop-start beginning they had at the start at the start of the campaign, but they were always a team that were going to find their way back up. It was kind of like City when they had their blip in. When they lost to Wolves and to Newcastle, etc. And they were always going to bounce back. Southampton are another side who are exactly the same, who I expect them to be up there challenging for playoffs at the very least. But it's all about consistency with teams like with Ipswich and Preston and Cardiff even as well. It's taking it one game at a time and not allowing yourselves to take one too many dips, because these teams will easily chase you down, and all of a sudden you find yourselves scrapping for 6th place. So, but no, it's still a long way to go. But no, I hate to say it because Ipswich have been brilliant this season, but I do expect them to fall off at some point. Mayhem. Absolute pleasure to have you, mate. I want to say the best of luck in what's it called? Is it sit out?
The sleep out.
Sleep out. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we'll have next week's pod because it'll be and then it'll be that weekend.
Yeah. No, sounds good. Yeah, perfect. No, but I'm wishing you good luck in advance. I'll wish you good luck next week as well. Because a sleep out obviously doesn't sound great, but for the cause you're doing it for, it's absolutely amazing. You've done a fantastic job in what you've raised as well for the cause. So my hat's off to you, my good man.
Cheers, buddy.
Ladies and gents, thank you very much for tuning in this evening. If you are new to the Football Booth podcast, check out all our episodes over all audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Audible. If you'd like to catch the live recordings, head on over to our YouTube channel at the Football Booth. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Drop your comments below. Until next week, ladies and gents, I bid you all good night and a star.